Welcome to The Explainer. Let's get right into it. If you're a university admission candidate, you can basically consider this your ultimate interactive exam masterclass. Because today, we are definitely not just memorizing some dense, boring list of historical facts. Instead, we're going to completely transform your general knowledge prep into this dynamic, fast-paced journey through time and geography. So grab your notebooks, lock in your focus, and let's completely change how you understand the history of this absolutely fascinating region. Okay, let's dive into our strategic study plan for today. We're going to hit 5 key areas. First, ancient Janapadas. Second, foreign travelers. Third, major dynasties. Fourth, the Mughal sequence. And finally, rebellions and the British era. I promise you, mastering these specific high-yield areas is going to massively boost your confidence on exam day. All right, Section 1, Ancient Janapadas and Mental Mapping. To really understand ancient Bengal, you honestly have to just throw away the modern map. The land wasn't divided into the districts we know today. It was made up of Janapadas. These were the distinct ancient geographical divisions and early human settlements. Building a mental map of these Janapadas is absolutely foundational. It's the anchor for literally every single historical event, king, and battle we're going to talk about today. Now, flag this in your notes right now, because this is a guaranteed one-mark topic. Let's build that visual map in your head. First up is Harkal. Picture this as the absolute eastern edge of Bangladesh. This covers modern-day Sylhet and the hilly terrains of Chittagong. Next, we have Pundra. Think of Pundra as the region's ancient roots, situated right on the banks of the Kurodoya River. Today, we know its capital as Mahastangarh in Bogra, which is actually the oldest known settlement. Finally, look at Samatata. This covers modern Kumila in Noakhali. It's home to the famous Shalban Vihar, and it's the exact spot famously visited by the Chinese traveler Huan Moving right along to Section 2, Foreign Travelers and Memory Tricks. So many students lose easy marks trying to remember which ancient traveler came from which country. But we can lock this into your memory right now using some really simple letter associations. Think about it. Huan Sang and Ma Huan both end with a strong N sound. Link that N directly to China. And a quick bonus fact for you, Ma Huan was actually the very first Muslim traveler to arrive from there. Next up, Megasthenes. His name ends with an S, so link that straight to Greece. He was the guy who authored the famous book Indica. Finally, Niccolo Conti. Notice that prominent L sound in Conti? That connects effortlessly to Italy. See? You are never going to forget those now. Now let's fast forward chronologically to a massive turning point, the arrival of the Europeans. In the year 1498, the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama successfully reached the port of Calicut. The Portuguese, who were known locally as the Faringi, were the very first Europeans to set foot here. And just keep in the back of your mind that the French would eventually be the last. All right, it's time for our first active recall pause. I'm going to ask you a rapid-fire question. Ready? Take a second to think. Who arrived in Calicut in 1498, marking the first European presence? Okay, if you said Vasco da Gama representing the Portuguese, excellent work. Active recall is exactly how you permanently store these facts. It's really interesting because over the centuries, visitors had wildly contrasting views of Bengal. The Mughal Emperor Humayun was so totally captivated by its beauty that he called it Jannatabad, meaning paradise. Conversely, the famous Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta was overwhelmed by both its extreme wealth and its incredibly harsh climate. He dubbed it Dozakh Pur Niamats, which translates to a hell crammed with blessings. Quite the contrast, right? Meanwhile, the historian Ziauddin Barani simply called it Bulgagpur, the city of rebellion. It wasn't until Shamsuddin Ilyas Shah united these rebellious regions that the area was finally named Mulk-e-Bangala, which earned him the prestigious title of Shahi Bangala. Let's transition into Section 3, Major Dynasties and Key Rulers. A huge part of your exam prep relies on keeping your timelines crystal clear. When you understand the chronological sequence of these ruling dynasties, you avoid so many easy mistakes. So here is the essential flow. We start with the Maurya dynasty, featuring the great emperor Ashoka. After witnessing the sheer brutality of the Kalinga War, he converted to Buddhism, becoming known as the Constantine of Buddhism. Later, we see the rise of King Shashanka of Gaur. Now, a highly testable fact here is that his only territory in modern-day Bangladesh was Chapai-Navaganj. After him comes the Pala dynasty, founded by Gopal, who brought much-needed order to the land, which eventually gave way to the Sen dynasty, peaking under its last successful ruler, Lakshman Sen. So, the crucial point here is understanding what actually happened between these rulers. After King Shashanka died, Bengal fell into this terrifying 100-year dark age known as Matsya Nyaya, which means the law of the fishes. Basically, just as big fish relentlessly swallow up smaller fish in a pond, powerful warlords were constantly consuming weaker ones. This absolute total anarchy only ended when Gopal stepped up and established the Pala dynasty. Let's fast forward again to one of the most cinematic, dramatic moments in history, the year 1204. The Turkish general Bakhtiar Halji launched a surprise attack on Lakshman Sen's capital of Nadia. He rode his horses so incredibly fast through the jungles that only 17 of his cavalrymen could actually keep up with him. But get this, with just those 17 men, he managed to trigger the total collapse of the Sen dynasty. Let's lock that in with our second active recall pause. Think carefully about this. What monumental political shift occurred in Bengal in the year 1204? Take a few seconds. Got it? It was Bakhtiar Khalji's lightning-fast conquest, which officially initiated Muslim rule in the region. That brings us perfectly to Section 4, the mighty Mughal sequence. Now, right before the Mughals, we had some seriously formidable rulers. People like Sultana Razia, who was the very first female ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, and Alauddin Khalji, who famously mirrored France's Louis XIV by boldly declaring, "I am the state." But everything changed in the year 1526. Zahiruddin Mahabad Babur faced off against Ibrahim Lodi in the First Battle of Panipat. Babur brought something to the battlefield that the subcontinent had never truly faced before: massive, devastating cannons. This technological superiority utterly, completely altered the course of Indian history. Time for your third active recall pause. Let's see if you're following. Which mighty empire was established in India following this explosive battle in 1526? Think about it. Think about it. That's right, it was the dawn of the magnificent Mughal Empire. Let's see how this empire builds across generations. Memorizing the first 6 great Mughals in order is essential for your exams. I want you to use this simple mnemonic: Bahu, Aja, Shah. Ready? Ba is for Babur, Hu for Humayun, A for Akbar, Ja for Jahangir, Shah for Shah Jahan, and the last A for Aurangzeb. Akbar, by the way, is highly testable. He is considered the greatest of them all because he abolished the religious jizya tax, intelligently divided the massive empire into 17 administrative subas, and he officially started the Bengali calendar. But, interestingly, the Mughal sequence actually had a brief interruption. The rather unlucky Emperor Humayun was temporarily defeated by the brilliant Sher Shah Suri. Mark this in your notes as highly testable. During his incredibly short rule, Sher Shah instituted some massive, lasting reforms. He created the fast duck horse post system for mail, he formalized agricultural rights with the Kabuliyat and Pata laws, and he built the legendary Grand Trunk Road connecting the subcontinent. Huge achievements. And finally, Section 5, Rebellions, Reforms, and the British Era. Before we jump fully into the 20th century, we have to note the later Mughal prosperity under Subadar Shaista Khan. This was a true golden era where just one single taka could buy 8 mons of rice. Mind-blowing, right? But of course, this incredible wealth attracted foreign attention, ultimately leading to the tragic fall of Siraj-ud-Dowlah, the last independent Nawab. Let's do a really quick pause. What was that famous 1757 battle that ended independent rule? It was the Battle of Plassey. Now, jumping way forward to the year 1905, Lord Curzon executed the partition of Bengal. He geographically split the region, briefly making Dhaka the capital again. This deeply angered many people and sparked intense nationalist movements. It was actually during this exact turmoil that Rabindranath Tagore penned Amar Sanar Bangla, and heroes like Pritalada Wadadar emerged, becoming the very first female anti-British martyr. Here is your next active recall pause. What major geographical and political division occurred in the year 1905? Lock in your answer. It was the highly controversial partition of Bengal. And remember, a very testable follow-up fact is that this partition was officially annulled just a few years later in 1911. What's really fascinating about this era is how religion began to merge with anti-colonial politics. The Farisi movement, for example, was initially started by Haji Shariatullah purely for religious reform. But his son, Dudu Mian, took it to another level. He famously declared, collecting tax from land is against God's law. This directly challenged the British-backed Zemindars, turning a religious reform into a fierce, massive political movement. Another vital name you need to know for this era of awakening is Syed Amr Ali, who wrote the incredibly influential book, The Spirit of Islam. As we wrap up this masterclass, I want you to take a second and look back at the journey we've just taken. We started all the way back with the fluid, shifting borders of the ancient Janapadas. We moved through conquering empires with massive cannons, and we ended with the strict, controversial lines drawn by colonial partitions. As you continue your prep, keep practicing your active recall, rely on those memory tricks we discussed, and ponder this final provocative question. How do the ghosts of those ancient Janapadas and colonial divisions still define the cultural and geographical map of Bangladesh today? Think about that, keep studying hard, and we will catch you in the next